One more deep breath. And the last one before we start. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you just have to take a deep breath. I'll wait till we get a few more people in here, and then we'll start the live. What up, Nat? What's going on? So we have roughly 250 people here. It's a Monday at 2 p.m. So I don't expect there to be a ton of people in here. But we're going to discuss today the beginning of the war between Israel and Iran. The way that it's shaping up is that Russia and China have both offered Iran military, satellite, and logistical assistance. The United States, England, France have all jumped in with Israel. And now the United States and Russia and China are debating with the other countries in the Middle East about what their role is going to be. So I'm just going to go through some of these countries really quick, and I don't want you to get offended if your parents happen to be from there, but this is actually what's going on. These are all the facts, and then we'll debate what we think, right? Azerbaijan is a country that has a lot of sanctions on it. It has a very close relationship with the Russian government. But ironically, this is true, Israel gets half of its gas, half of its petroleum from Azerbaijan, right? It's one of the only Muslim countries besides Morocco that it has that kind of close deal with. So Azerbaijan is right now on Israel's side, but it's propped up by Russia. So just so you understand. Also, for the people that are cheering in the conflict, I just want to make you understand something. Although Iran may have retaliated against Israel, I'm not necessarily happy about that, because there's no way that Israel can invade and occupy Iran. And so the only way for it to win a war would be to pull the United States in there or to use a tactical nuclear weapon. A tactical nuclear weapon means a smaller nuke that gives the warning that I could shoot a larger one. Because remember, there's no way that they can invade a country and hold it without putting boots on the ground, right? There's no way. For example, look at the Houthis. They were not able to regime change them. You can't regime change without boots on the ground. They weren't able to do anything to the Houthis, but they could bomb them. But in order to actually disable the surface-to-air missiles that Russia left there, they would have to put boots on the ground and destabilize them. The only way to actually functionally have regime change in Iran is to have boots on the ground. When someone asked me to be on these shows, I just want to let you guys know something. I've been asked to be on all of these shows that people go on, right? Please don't make a mistake. It's not like these people don't know who I am. I've been asked to be on all of these shows. I don't go on many of these shows because, to me, I think it's the new Jerry Springer show, right? Like Piers Morgan is the new Jerry Springer, because you're not selling real solutions. You're selling conflict to people, right? There's no difference between, some shirtless hick that's a caricature of themselves pretending to cheat on his wife, and an Israeli official that knows that his government is killing people wholesale, has killed thousands of children, but has to toe this party line. They're selling conflict, right? So just so you understand, I'm eventually going to do one of these shows, but I would love to do it with a much more serious person. It's not to say that they would be conservative or liberal, that doesn't really matter to me, as long as they're an intelligent person, because today I posted a meme saying that you can defeat 40 scholars with one fact, but you can never defeat one idiot with 40 facts. They're never going to see it in any other way. And unfortunately, it's because I'm going to explain this. Today, right now in the United States, people's politics are attached to their social circle. Do you understand? They're attached to their social circle. So when you claim that you're no longer, or you supported Trump and you no longer support him, well, the reality is that your entire friend group supports them, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to leave all your friends? You're going to leave all your family? So I just think that politics are so personal now that people are intertwined in that group. So even a young lady that I saw who voted for Trump, even though her dad had no documentation and could have been deported at any time. Now he's being deported with stage 4 colon cancer. And they rejected the application for him to stay because of a medical emergency. Do you see what I mean? And that, in a sense, is what I'm talking about. Are any of the people that have been affected by this going to have some radical change in their ideology, right? Are they automatically going to switch out all of their friends and all of their family? No. Very rarely do I have the opportunity to meet people that are going to make some sort of distinctive change in their life because of what they heard. Someone asked me, could you please speak on the European war since you talk about all the other wars? Sure. No problem. The Ukraine announced yesterday that it really hopes that the United States can keep funding its war while dealing with the Iran situation, right? Now, let me just tell you how some of the Russians think. I've met these people before Tenant Media was giving money to right-wing YouTuber people to influence them. These people used to bring me on RT. And I'll just tell you the truth. I used to go, the things that I said on RT have absolutely nothing to do with anything else that we ever talked about there. I would debate these Russians for hours, mind you, in a quiet, private room. I don't know if they recorded these debates, but listen, it was like the last scene of Watership Down. It was an absolute massacre. And it wasn't because I was trying to be rude. It was because they really fundamentally didn't understand how the United States media worked. I explained to them, look, and this is not all of them, trust me. There are some really good people that were working at RT. But some of them just didn't understand, hey, it's not because you don't have enough news channels to tell people your version of the events. That's not why you're losing the war, right? That's not why you're losing the war. I told the Russians that. It's not because they got Fox and CNN and MSNBC and all these other... No, you could have 100 more RTs. That's absolutely nothing to do with why they're winning the culture war. It's because every show, every movie, every TV commercial, everything is steeped in American propaganda, right? So when we speak about Europe, let's never forget that the Russians know that the Americans used Israel as a staging point to move into the Middle East by forcing people to normalize relations with them, or by using Israel as a strike point to take out Iraq's nuclear reactor. Wow, I'd never had that happen before. They just stopped this. To take out Iran's nuclear reactor in the 90s, right? They've used Israel as a staging ground for everything that they've wanted to do. Nothing that Israel does, they do on their own. This is the biggest lie. Whenever I see people that get frustrated on the left and they say, oh, Israel runs our country, that's the low-hanging fruit, ladies and gentlemen. Israel don't do nothing without the approval of the United States. Israel has a few Zionists in government, right? But they're pawns. They do what we ask them to do. The United States has 17 military bases inside Israel and helps them maintain their nuclear arsenal. They don't do nothing without the approval of the United States, which means that it wasn't Israel that hit Iran. It was the United States telling Israel, listen, you got the go ahead. Go do what you're going to do. Do you see it now? So when someone asked me, could you speak on Europe? Yeah, the Russians felt that America would use Ukraine the way that they've used Russia to get into these Central Asian republics. Remember, after Ukraine, right? What is there? What's after Ukraine? The Caucasus? What's after Iran? All of Central Asia? So what the Russians have always feared is that they were going to use Ukraine as a staging point to then try and create dissension in Siberia and break up the Russian Federation into smaller republics, which will be easy to play off against each other. Now, Europe's position is very different. And you know who I feel the worst for in terms of Europe? Let me tell you the truth. It's actually Poland. Poland is being used like a crash test dummy by the rest of Europe because they're telling them, oh, you're on the front line. Yeah. And you got to worry the most about it. Yeah, Poland is their buffer. France, Germany, the UK, Spain, Italy, they're all willing to throw Poland to the wolves. But let's be very precise about why Poland is the way that it is. Since you asked me to speak on Europe so badly, you know, when I go to these like conservative right-wing pages that are against immigration and stuff like that, there's always these stupid posts that praise Poland. Oh, look at Poland. They don't let no immigrants in. They're keeping the Africans and the Muslims out. Yeah, yay for, you know, white Christian American culture. No, stupid. That's not the reason that happened. It's the reason is because Poland was so fucked over by the Mongols and the rest of Europe for its entirety of history that it could never participate in colonialism. I'm going to say this again. Poland never participated in colonialism the way that other countries did. Do you understand? It never had colonies in Africa the way France or England did. Poland never had colonies in Africa the way Spain or Portugal did. It never had colonies in Latin America. So, of course, it's not going to have as many immigrants that come there. Don't you understand that? Don't you get it? Don't you see it? You should. Someone said right-wingers are not against immigrants, they're against illegal immigration. See, I love that talking point because it's so fake. And it's said by someone who really deserves to have absolutely no self-confidence in what they're saying. And I guess this person is somewhere on the end of their phone looking at it like, who the fuck is this guy talking about me? Yeah, I'm talking about you. The pussy in the white hat. I'm talking to you. For people that say it's not racially motivated, it absolutely is. And the reality is you just have to speak to the people that support this immigration roundup. They've said it themselves. You know why they stopped interviewing Israelis? You know why? Because they keep saying, yeah, it's a genocide. Kill all the kids from Gaza. That became such a national embarrassment because you're paying people millions of dollars to come on American television and say, hey, we're not targeting children. And yet when you put Israelis on live TV, they'll say, yes, we have to kill their children because if the children will grow up to be other Arabs. That's my point. So when they stop putting those people on there, why don't we start talking to the actual Republicans that designed this? They'll tell you 100% we want to stop the browning of America. And there's nothing that you bots can do to stop me from talking about this. There's no way you can shame me. You know what the best part is? When you guys say, oh, why didn't you say this during Obama and Biden? I was the loudest voice in hip hop during Obama and Biden about immigration. I criticized them the most out of any other rapper that I've seen. So you cannot play that game with me. I'm sorry. You have to think of something better to try to come at me with to defend Trump. You have to find a better way of trying to call me a hypocrite, right? Because during Obama, I was the person that was yelling the loudest that he was a fraud and a war criminal, along with Lupe Fiasco, to be fair, that he was a fraud and a war criminal. and that he was deporting these people because he was protected by the Democratic establishment. Now, let me ask you something. Many of you have heard my song Dance with the Devil, right? You've heard my song Dance with the Devil. Let me ask you a question. Was the first person that sexually assaulted Billy Jacobs' mother any less guilty than the third person? No, they're both just as guilty as each other. So if Obama built the cages with George Bush's FEMA money, and then Trump used the cages gleefully and to the delight of all of his followers, then what does it matter who built the cages or not? They both used them for the same thing. The only difference is that when liberals found out about the cages, they were embarrassed. And when conservatives found out about the cages and the kids in them, they were laughing and they thought it was funny. But the problem is that, what I've seen a lot of these right-wing influencers do is that when Biden was in power, they were blaming the power structure, right? But now that Trump is in power, they're blaming the Democratic opposition for what the power structure is doing. Listen, I hate to break your pathetic little narrative, but do you understand that there's nothing counterculture about the right wing? You're not rebels, right? You're the empire. You're the ISB. You're fighting imaginary communism, right? You're fighting for conformity. You're begging people to assimilate to a people that don't have culture. You're begging us to give up the cow for a handful of magic beans. Do you understand that? Back to the Iran-Israel war. So, Iran has about 700 more missiles than Israel right now in their stockpiled arsenal. They have about the same number of helicopters, but Iran has at least 1 million men to fight, and Israel barely has 200,000 troops to scrape up. Do you understand? It's not a winnable war. It's not a winnable war without boots on the ground. You can't win. We would have never been able to topple Saddam Hussein without putting boots on the ground. Do you understand that? We would not have been able to topple Saddam Hussein without having an invasion expeditionary force land in Iraq. So what we have to do as a country, if we want to beat Iran, is to land troops there. So what we need to be doing is recognizing that this is exactly what Israel wanted. Israel wanted Iran to attack them very publicly, as long as they didn't damage too much infrastructure. But unfortunately, that's already happening because the Iranians are using, as I said before, hypersonic missiles. Just real quick to go over this hypersonic thing, just because a lot of people in the comments are asking me questions about that. What's the difference between a hypersonic missile and a regular missile and all this other stuff? So just to answer all your questions, because I want to get to as many people as possible. The Patriot missile, the Iron Domes system, fires missiles at about 1,500 to 2,500 miles per hour, right? So it's good at taking down drones and rockets and stuff like that. But what it's not good at is catching a missile, a hypersonic missile, that's going 6,000 to 8,000 miles per hour. It can't. That's the difference in between... That's the difference between someone shooting at you and you putting up a shield, or someone shooting at you and you trying to shoot their bullet down with one of your guns. You can't shoot down hypersonic missiles. But Israel did want Iran to attack them because they want to draw the United States into a conflict. And I'm going to give you a little piece of tidbit of information. The United States has removed its carrier group from China. Can you believe that? The carrier group that protects Japan and the Philippines from China and from North Korea has been removed from the China Sea and sent to the Middle East. Why? Because this carrier group has like 3 battleships, a aircraft carrier, a dozen destroyers. It has a massive amount of arsenal, right? A mass amount of arsenal. So it has nuclear weapons. It has surface-to-air missiles. It has drones. It has planes. It's literally an army, right? There's roughly a division of United States Marines aboard. So you're talking about 20,000 men with some of the most high-tech equipment that you can have. They're going to that particular point in the Mediterranean so that they can back up Israel. But also, just remember, these people wanted this to happen because they felt like they could somehow reattack them. You know, I get it. There are a lot of Latinos here that are in the comments or somewhere else that support deporting random people, right? They'll call them all criminals. They'll say, oh, even I saw some moron in here. I'm talking to you. The dummy who came in here and posted just about the stupidest shit that I've read all day. Congratulations, man. This guy said, even heaven has borders. Well, Jesus, how do I talk to people that are this stupid? Heaven doesn't have borders because no one's ever been seriously talking about the pearly gates. You know that that's not in the Bible, right? There's no pearly gates. That's some shit that came up in the Middle Ages. You morons. There's no borders. It's an alternate dimension. It doesn't exist in the planes of society. You can't fly onto the nearest star, fly left, and go on till morning like you're trying to find Peter fucking Pan and get to the border of heaven. There's no border control in heaven. Do you understand that? I'm worried about you guys. I'm worried about you because you use these Republican talking points against stupid people and they work. But unfortunately, brother, you cannot use them against me. Do you understand? They don't work. They're non-functional. Do you get that? It's like when I hear these right-wingers with these talking points about immigration, right? It's just a borders country. I feel like I'm watching a little kid do karate. And you think that that's going to work on me. Like, you really think you could do these little stupid moves when you're 6 years old and it'll work on me. It doesn't work on me, homie. I'll just slap you like the little piece of shit you are, and then we keep going, right? For example, CS lawyer. You're a coward, right? But let me tell you something. You're the idiot who thought, oh, there's nothing to deport them all. You grade A bitch. I got guys I want you to meet, and they don't have papers that say that they're a United States citizen, but they have papers that say that they're a United States Marine, that they were in the Army, that they were in the Navy, and that they fought for this country in Iraq, in Afghanistan, even in Vietnam. Right? Now, I don't agree with the wars that they fought. 100% not. I don't agree with the war in Iraq and the occupation of Afghanistan, and what we did in Vietnam is a fucking horrific travesty. But if someone fought for this country, CS, you pathetic coward, they deserve to be here way more than you, who fell out of some stinking wretched hole, right? Somewhere in Ohio. You fell out of a floppy vagina and you've done absolutely nothing for anybody since you hit the fucking ground. You've done nothing for the country except come on this application to spew racism. And you think you've done more than someone that cut their teeth in another country for this country. Because even though they, irrespective, they took a hill, they did this. If you ever in the military, you know that people work in squads. They work in battalions. They work in units. So the unit has to work cohesively. So if the person was an undocumented immigrant, he happened to be part of a unit, he was integral to the unit. He was the reason motherfuckers weren't ambushing you from the left or from the right, or his job was to watch your six, and he made sure that your son came home without a bullet in the back of his fucking head. Do you see how it's not cut and dry, ladies and gentlemen? You see how it's not cut and dry? It's not just deport them all. It's not cut and dry. Even your hero, Mr. Trump. Even your hero, Mr. Trump, knows he's wrong, because today or yesterday he changed the policy for hotels and for restaurants, because this idiot really thought that people were going to stop hiring them and start hiring Americans to work those jobs for $7 an hour. And the Americans won't do it. So Mr. Trump went back on his pledge. He had to. Oh, Ed Evers, I'm coming to Ohio, August 16th, for the gathering of the Juggalos. I'll see you motherfuckers there. HWSRD, it's coffee shop revolutionary. Shop, not shot. Not a coffee shop, like a little coffee, like the size of your dick. No, we're not talking about that. That's a coffee shot, right? Coffee shop revolutionary, I think is what you were trying to call me. And actually, I'm not in a coffee shop right now. I'm just chilling in the street. But thanks for playing. It breaks my heart because I get it. You guys think that these talking points work. They don't. They just work on stupid people who are easily triggered by your nonsense. They don't work on me, right? You're like a 6-year-old with a black belt. That black belt means the world to you and your 6-year-old friends, but that black belt don't mean nothing to me, my nigga. You 6 years old. I'll slap you like you stole candy from the store. Right? Comrade Josh. Oh, man. I think it goes to show that the United States had a prearranged plan to attack Iran. A prearranged plan. In the same way, I almost said Iraq, in the same way that it had a prearranged plan to attack Iraq. But I just caution people before you start cheering because Israel got slapped around a little bit. I think that they would use a tactical nuclear weapon. I think they would. Who's going to discipline them? Oh, by the way, Boston was rescheduled for September, so I'll see you guys then. Any final questions before I get out of here? Just so you know, there are no military targets in South America for nuclear war. There's no uranium enrichment centers. It's not. There are places in the world you can go where you won't get hit. But not the place where you are right now. Man, God rest your grandma's soul, homie. So we have to talk about some of these other countries real quick, and then I'm going to get out of here. Jordan is working with the United States and Israel. I believe the president is significantly compromised, as is his entire administration. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that they repress their people so much because if their people had actually had a voice in Jordan, they would have overthrown him, last year. During the Arab Spring, he had to sack his entire government and start over. Morocco is another one. Morocco has disputed the Western Sahara territory for years that they took from other people. And in return for acknowledging Israel as a country, Israel and I believe now the United States have acknowledged Morocco's control over Western Sahara. So that's what you got. Anyway, Egypt is another one. Egypt is one that installed a military dictatorship, right? Egypt has a military dictatorship that was installed by the United States. So why do you think they would do anything differently? Right. Now, in terms of Russia and China, the reason that things went dark for a little while is because the Chinese, this is just my hunch, if they're really giving them satellite technology, they're telling them where the missile batteries for the Iron Dome are. And what I thought was interesting is I saw a video of the Iron Dome. And the Iron Dome is in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It's right next to like an apartment building. So if the Israeli excuse was, hey, every house has a tunnel to Hamas, right? Every hospital has a tunnel to Hamas, and therefore we can level every fucking building. Then what are we talking about? Israel is doing the same thing. They have the Iron Dome system next to an apartment complex, right? And a little skyscraper. So how is that not going to kill those people? Masood the Shah. Well, Masood, I don't know when the book's coming out, but I know the Shah is never coming out. The Shah ain't never coming out. And I don't think the Shah or his descendants or anybody, which is funny because his son just married I don't know, I think an Israeli dude, somebody said. I don't know if that's true, but listen, I get it. There's some unfortunate truths we're going to have to face. The Palestinian people are still in their struggle, right? I'm sorry, Florida, you're not going to get to a next Cuba anytime soon. That's a wrap. You can keep dreaming about that, though. And lastly, I'm afraid the Houthis aren't going nowhere. I'm going to say that again. The Houthis are not going anywhere. And when people ask me why the Houthis aren't going anywhere, I was pretty clear. I said it's because they were resupplied by Russia's carrier group. I said this on another live, but I always remember months and months ago, there was a nuclear sub story in Cuba, and all of these media outlets jumped on it. Oh my God, look what's going on. This is all da-da-da. While they sent a nuclear sub and like 2 dinghy boats to Cuba, they sent an entire carrier group to Yemen, and the Russians resupplied the Yemeni with surface-to-air missiles and everything else that made it impossible for the United States and for Israel to invade their country. Do you understand? It would cost too much. But that's a dangerous option, because that's the same thing they said about Japan. It's going to cost too many lives, and oh man, these people are dedicated to war. The only way we can get them to stop is to nuke them. So while other people are excited, I'm always cautious, because wars have uncertain outcomes. It's like gambling, right? It's like a forest of revenge. You go in one way and you think you're coming out the way you're coming out, but you may not come out that way. You may come out farther away from where you want to be. Do you understand? Farther away than you want to be. So when I hear these fake conservatives, these fake people with this God in their profile, and they're all hypocrites, dude. All of them. Right? Because it is racially motivated. You do want to stop what you call the browning of America. And if all you got from me is, no, they're only trying to get rid of legal immigrants. Well, I got a guy you should talk to, right? Who's white and in this country illegally. I don't want you to have his name, because you know what? I'm going to bring him on the live one of these days. I'm going to mask his face and all that. And literally, my white friend, who's undocumented, was caught in an ICE dragnet in the Bronx. I'm telling you the truth. I hope it breaks your heart, because you deserve to have no self-confidence, right? All you fucking fake Trumpers, you fake God people, you would have probably turned Jesus in, yo. You're all frauds. But to be fair, there's a lot of liberal people that are just as demonic and disgusting as you, right? We have to be fair. There are plenty of liberal people that are just as inhumane, demonic, and disgusting as you. So if you think about it, you got plenty of company. Even though you're a devil, look at it this way. At least you never have to be lonely, right? They told my white friend, don't worry, we're not looking for people like you. You can go. May lightning strike me if I'm lying. They said to him to his face, they took a bunch of Salvadorian dudes that were at the job site, but not him. They said, you can leave. Do you understand? I get it. They trained you to come up here and to repeat these lies. Kev Rivera. Oh, there's always got to be a sellout in the comments. But you know what? I called this years ago. I called it years ago. I said the United States doesn't like our people. It wants us to be Kev Rivera, dude. What's up, man? I'm Kev Rivera. I'm a Latino, but, I'm not really into, that radical Latino culture. I've been assimilated to the United States, so now I eat burgers and hot dogs and whatever, dude. And I guess my dad's name is Vasquez. But what does that really mean, dude? I'm just an American. I have no culture. This is what they want. That's what they want you to be. A no sabo. Right? That's what you want from me? That's what you want from us? To turn into the Italians of today? So you can use us to offset and be racist against black people when you need us to be? Is that what you want from us? Oh, there's nothing racial about it, dude. They're just trying to get rid of the illegals that are messing up the economy. Dude. Kevin, no mames, güey, pero ¿qué te pasa? Kevin, tú eres un huele bicho, carajo, pero ¿qué te pasa a ti? Usted no tiene madre, ¿no? Usted no tiene madre, no tiene abuela, no tiene nada en su vida que te conecta con la cultura, right? You just wanna, what? Eat corn dogs? Go to the skate park, dude? Is that it? Do you think that severing your connection to your culture of 1,000 years sometimes makes you more American? You know where you got that from? Racist white people who think that the only real Americans are white European immigrants and everybody else is just on welfare. They think that if you're not those people who immigrated from there, and you know who that completely reminds me of, that is the Spanish casta system. That is the caste system that Spain implemented. If you are a peninsular from Spain, meaning you were born in Europe and then you came here, you were at the top tier of colonial Spanish society. If you were a criollo, a white person that was born in Latin America, you were right below them. Then there was castizo, then there was mestizo, then there was indio, and then there was moreno, all the way at the bottom. Los africanos. Do you know why Europeans are so good at this? Because they have a history of understanding human behavior and development. They know from the famous words of Cicero. You know what Cicero said? Cicero said, most slaves don't dream of freedom, but rather a slave to call their own. And that's you, Kevin. You don't dream of freedom for your people. You dream of a slave to call your own. You dream of becoming an American, and you can just hire slave labor to do everything that you want to do. You see how your talking points don't work on me, bro? You see how you can't shame me or move me or use any of these pathetic things that work on fourth graders with me? White people were not the original slaves. No, sorry. But I will tell you something very interesting. Since you want to be oppressed, God is Irish. The first transcontinental slave trade was ran by Vikings. It was ran by Scandinavians. And what they did is steal women from the shores of Scotland and Ireland, and they used to travel down the length of Europe in their ships, right? And take them to the slave markets in Cairo, where they were able to sell them for their weight in silver. So they were, in a sense, the first transatlantic slave trade was for Europeans, 100%. But you are not the original slaves. The word slave comes from an abbreviation of Slav. Yeah. And slavery is written into the Hammurabi Code. That is the oldest known legal documentation that existed in Sumeria. So, I'm sorry, Ireland and England as a country are not as old as Sumeria. So your pathetic attempt to be the victim, even though you call black and Latino people victims all the time, right? And claim we're trying to claim victimhood. See, that's what you do. You think you're the victim. Oh, one more thing, and I'm going to end the live like this. Elon Musk is a fraud because him and his brother came into this country illegally. But he said something that really, really made me sad. It's sad because I thought that Joe Rogan or someone else that was on the show would correct him. And unfortunately, when you're friends with somebody, sometimes you can't tell them something in public. But here's me correcting you, Elon. You said there's nothing special about people who were oppressed in America. You're wrong. We are special. Black and indigenous people, black and Latino people in this country, we're special, right? We're more special than anybody else who was enslaved. You know why? Because conservatives are always half right. It's how they peddle lies to people. And liberals are always half wrong. That's how they peddle lies to people too. If you want to actually discuss this, let's discuss it. What's the most racist period for science in all of humanity? It's somewhere between the 1700s and the late 1800s. Do you know why? Because you're half right. Yes, the caliphate had slaves. You're half right. Yes, Rome and Greece had slaves. Yes, you're right. Egypt had slaves. All of these places had slaves before the United States, but the difference is that the United States was so fucking cowardly that they had to make up a fake scientific reason that said that black and brown people were racially inferior to white people. It was a fake science that's been debunked now for 100 years called eugenics. Those other people, they were braver than you. They were braver than you, America. Because you were so pussy, you couldn't even tell the truth. You couldn't just say, hey, we took you because we needed to build our infrastructure because we wanted to get ahead of Europe and we didn't have 100 years to spare, so we just took you. No, you needed to come up with a lie because your Constitution said all men was created equal. So you needed to come up with a lie, and that lie was black and brown people are subhuman. Right? So we are special. Because nobody else needed to lie about their people. Alexander the Great didn't need to lie. He said, you got conquered, motherfucker. That's it. That's the reason we took your shit. But you couldn't even tell the truth about us. You couldn't say, hey, we wanted to legalize pedophilia, so we got this slave trade going. So now you sick old slave masters can fuck these 8 and 9-year-old children, which is exactly what was going on, right? So we're special. We're more special than you, motherfucker, because you had to lie about indigenous people and saying they were subhuman. You had to lie about Native Americans and say they were subhuman. You had to lie about Africans that were brought here forcibly and say they were subhuman when they gave you everything you ever fucking had that resembles civilization in Europe and taught you how to use a fucking bar of soap. They taught you how to use a fucking bar of soap. You people didn't even know what a fucking fork was until the 12th century. Empress Theophano from the Byzantine Empire introduced the fork to people in the year 1148 AD. Do you understand what that means? That means that up until 1148 AD, 99.9999999% of the people who lived in Europe ate pig with their hands. We're special, and we're more special than you. And we're definitely all much smarter than Liam. Yeah. His father is an absolute failure because he never taught him any of this. He just taught him that he was special because he was able to use these pathetic little talking points against uneducated children online. But when you try to use your fake karate on someone who actually knows jujitsu, doesn't work that way. Listen, gentlemen, I hate to break your narrative. I hate to hurt your feelings, right? Let's see. This guy, Ammo Alchemist. Oh, Ammo Alchemist, I crushed your inner child. That pathetic little kid who's still waiting for Q to show up. You still waiting for Q, pussy? You okay? You still waiting for Q? You still thinking you're gonna use those talking points on me? It don't work, pussy. Doesn't work. Doesn't work when you have an intelligent person that understands history. But thanks for coming. Thanks for playing, brother. I love it. You know, when there are people that hate you so much that they'll come to a live and sit there while you're talking bad about them, and all they want to do is try and influence like 1 or 2 people to step away from you. They start DMing the fans, hey, I saw you hate on Technique too. You should join my club of like center-right Republicans that are for stability in the country. Good luck, man. Good luck, man. I swear to God, you people are too easy. It's too easy to argue with you, right? It's too easy to argue with you. Who else is in here besides that little freak? If we hold on to the past, we're going to keep racism alive. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, right? We should stop researching cancer because it's giving people cancer. If we keep talking about division, there'll just be more division. No. if you don't talk about the division and you pretend it doesn't happen, there'll be even more division and there'll be no remedy for it. And really, really conservative people have convinced a stupid idiot like you to repeat these lies. Because as long as we keep talking about what actually happened in the past, we don't have to repeat it. But you think by completely ignoring racism and the long history that America has being built on that that's going to create unity? By lying to people about history? You think that lying to people about history creates unity? So let me ask you something, Kevin. If your dad was cheated on by your mom and she was secretly sucking my cock and having sex with mad other men, right? Like if your mom had community pussy and she lied to your father about that, is that creating unity in your family, Kevin? Is your mom lying about her having community pussy and giving it to every single other person, creating unity by not telling people the truth about what's going on? Is your dad being a cuck creating unity about what's not going on? Anything else, Kevin? Anything else? Ammo? Oh no, you tapped out like McGregor 5 minutes ago. I could do this all day, people. Do you understand? Telling lies to cover up horrible shit does not create unity. It creates ignorance. And that's what the right wing seems to love. You love ignorance because you hate a motherfucker like me. I'm not ignorant. I'm not going to accept that one side is somehow has all the answers and the other one doesn't. But the one thing about it is this, is that the last thing you people can ever call me is a Democrat. Because I protested louder than everybody. During Biden, I called him a war criminal from jump. Genocide Joe, you idiots think that's who I support? Like, wait a minute, I'm misunderstanding this. You think because I'm opposed to a genocide in Gaza that I support Hitler? Think about how crazy that is. These people think you're an anti-Semite if you don't support a genocide in Gaza. Think about how backwards that is. And then you cowards really think that lying about the history of a country creates unity. Lying about the history of a country does not create unity. It creates ignorance. I'm sorry to tell you that. Right? Like, if your mom has stage 1 cancer and you just choose to ignore it, it's not going to go away. It's just going to become stage 4 cancer. Take it from a nigga who had, his mom had cancer 3-4 times. It's not going to go away, bro. It's not going to go away. Let me just end on this. Someone that said that if you're not Zionist, that you're anti-Semitic. Most pathetic talking point I've reached this week. Oh my God. How about this? Let me just debunk this, since most of your talking points from the right are puerile. Zionism wasn't a popular ideology until like the early 1900s, right? Even after the NAPCA, motherfuckers weren't dying to move there. It was only after the 6-Day War in Israel when immigration went through the roof. So what that means is that since Zionism was invented in the 1850s, right? And no one took Zionism seriously at all, like except for less than 1% of a Jewish population. You can look it up if you don't believe me. That means that according to your logic, that since the temple was destroyed up until 1850, that all Jewish people were anti-Semitic, because they were definitely anti-Zionist. They did not believe in the 1700s, the 1600s, 15, 14, 13, 11, 10. They don't believe that they should go back to Israel. They didn't believe they should be in Palestine, because they believed that they had a pact with God that said you will not return until the Messiah is ready. You already know. So I'm just telling you guys. You guys can be upset all day long. Someone accused me and said, you're acting like Hitler. No, because I haven't killed 40,000 children and then hidden behind some cowardly thing. Ronnie Goods, are you a Zionist? Do you support 20,000 children under rubble? Because your people are under rubble now in Israel, right? You claim that the hospital was a staging ground, but now you have an Iron Dome missile battery next to a skyscraper and next to an apartment complex that you got for free. I told you, ladies and gentlemen, these talking points don't work on me. They work on dumb people. They work on slow people. They don't work on me. Because all you need is about 5 seconds to completely dismantle it. Don't you see? If you don't support a genocide, they think you're an anti-Semite. If I don't support Israel's actions, this is what happens when you draw a line in the sand and you think that everyone is going to follow you. No, man. No, Ronnie, you genocide supporter, you fucking baby killer. Ronnie, you drew a line in the sand and everyone stepped away from you. Do you see what happened? That was Israel's big mistake. Hey, if I was actually a Zionist, you know what I would tell them? Do you know what I would tell them? I would tell them every single time that you create these instances where you force people to choose, they're never going to choose you. People don't like ultimatums. And they definitely don't like them from an overconfident, sassy piece of shit that wouldn't be anything without the United States. So the entire Israeli government, talk about the government, right? The government can't exist without the United States. I'm sorry. But we're now in a war with Iran. So what's going to happen? There's going to be some attack inside the United States that people are going to get hyped up over, and then we're going to go attack them. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. We'll see it again. Oh, we'll see it again. Now, look, the more you people insult me, the more you say, oh, I don't like this guy, I know I'm doing the right thing because I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to stop me from speaking on this stuff. You're trying to shame me into making it seem like I don't know what I'm saying. No, that's not me, brother. That's you. You don't have a single fact. Like I explained to you in the very beginning of this live. You can defeat 40 scholars with one fact, but you cannot defeat one idiot with 40 facts. And those are the people that are angry in the comments. Oh, shut up. You don't know anything. Pretty sure I just went through about 5,000 years of history on this live. And you've offered the world nothing but high school herpes. Okay? You've accomplished nothing except embarrassing yourself publicly here, although you did it behind a fake screen name. So you see? There you go. Just so you understand something, my biggest beef with the left, just so I can end on a good note here, my biggest beef with the left is that they abandoned religion. They let the Republicans have Jesus. That's why I think you're pathetic, left wing. You gave him up. You gave up Jesus. When Jesus was more left than all Democrats. And I don't think God is right or left, but I'm just saying his actions would be interpreted as that. Imagine if I, right, had my hair out, long beard, looking Semitic, and just went into a Chase bank and started destroying it. I'd be arrested. They would call me a Marxist. What did Jesus do? He went up in the temple where people were changing money and said, what are you doing? You're changing money in a holy place? You turned something that was supposed to be full of sanctity into into a money laundering operation? Why'd you give up Jesus, man? Why did you let these crusty, fake people have Jesus? They don't believe in anything he believed in. They don't follow his teachings, right? And the other thing that I always laugh at is when people say the Nazis were socialists. No, they weren't. In the same way, if the Nazis were socialists, then the Ku Klux Klan is a modern day representation of Christianity. Come on, dude. Then the Grand Wizard is the Pope. I can't understand how you guys got this stupid. Is it because I left you alone? I didn't come here to educate you? How did you get this fucking stupid? You think the Nazis are socialists? Then answer this question. Riddle me this, Batman. Why, during Nazi Germany, did 3 companies own the entire Nazi industry? Everything in Germany was divided up between 3 companies. That's not communism, motherfucker. That's not socialism. I'm sorry. Someone wrote, it's like calling a urinal cake a cake. What is wrong with you people? Someone wrote, nah, they more like commies. What's a commie, bro? Are we still using words from 1942 right now? Do you even know what that means? I'm sorry I left you alone for so long on this planet. I had to find the missing parts of myself I lost in a gambit. I caught a glimpse of the future and now I see how it ends. So I gathered you here to spend this last little bit of time with my friends. The long kiss goodnight before I fade into black. But I can see the outline of the person that I'll be when I'm back. Woo. Sorry, I just had to give you some middle passage bars. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And just because you all popped up here, I'm going to post this live. And I appreciate the support and the love, man. Much respect. Immortal Technique. Rebel Army Runs is this week. Please donate. Link in bio. And then I'll be going to Gathering of the Juggalos. I got a show with Dead Prez in New York. We're coming back to Boston. And I'll be in Las Vegas on July 24th. I love you guys, man. I hope we make it safe out of this. And just remember, protect your energy. Don't let people tear God away from you by believing in devilhood and that evil is good and that ripping a baby out of some screaming mother's hands is somehow justified. Right? There was something called the Mexican Hello? There was something called the Mexican Repatriation Act. During the Great Depression, the United States deported nearly 1 million Mexican-American citizens under the guise that they were not here legally when they all had papers, the vast majority of them. And they did it so they could ease up on white folks. There was a concerted effort in the 1700s and 1800s to have more white immigrants because they wanted Europeans to far overpower indigenous people. I'm sorry they never taught you this history, young brother. But for people that say that it's not racial, hey, I hate to break your inner child. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And I love you. I love all of you. No matter what race, what religion, what creed, what color. I love all of you. But I have to love some of you from a distance. You know why? Because you're more interested in asking a bunch of stupid rhetorical questions. And some of you profess to know Jesus. But the funny thing is this. If you just talked about him, right? but you don't follow in his footsteps. You don't care about strangers. You don't care about women having babies ripped out of their arms. You're not following Christ, right? You're following a false prophet. You know why Europe is so fucked, Liam? Because you didn't want us to convert to Christianity. You didn't want us to worship Jesus. You replaced Jesus' face with your own. Yeah. You replaced the face, the real face of Christ, with a white European guy. And you said that's Jesus. See, you didn't want people to worship God. Liam, you wanted people to worship you. That's right. Europeans, you try to make yourselves God. And that's the real reason that Christ has abandoned you. Spineless math tutor that doesn't know anything about history. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your support. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace. This is Immortal Technique. Oh, don't talk to Liam. He's dead. He's already gone. It's time for shout outs, everybody. Where are you from? Let me know where you're from, and I'll give you a shout out. Shout out to the Bay Area. Shout out to Philly. Where else? The Philippines. Holy shit, the Philippines is in the house. California. Where else? Liverpool. Shout out to Liverpool. Shout out to Utah. Shout out to Somalia. Chicago. San Bernardino. Tongaland. Oh, New Jerusalem. Oceanside, California. Shout out to Tara. Anomalies crew in the building. Kurdistan. San Antonio. Fresno. San Diego. Man, thank you so much. Nebraska in the building. India's in the house. PA, Jalisco, Mexico. El Salvador is in the building. Wisconsin. Hawaii. I love you guys, man. Stay safe. Peace.